Welcome back to Embracing New Life, and on this week's episode, we dive into part 2 of our interview with Bryan Peacock. Last week, we released part 1, so if you haven't watched that, we'd encourage you to go back and reference that before diving into episode 2 or part 2 with Bryan. But without any further ado, here's our second part of our interview with Bryan Peacock.
For me, it is expected that if we learn a skill, if we set a goal, we want to communicate this with families so they can help you carry it through outside of here, because that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great that you can be such an example, not only to the client, but to their parents in those situations where you can teach and demonstrate that curiosity, because, man, it's so easy to fall into judgment, right? Especially with those that we're closest to. We just get so used to, even our kids, right? We feel like, oh, I figured you out, and we lose that curiosity piece of it. And to stay curious, understand their world and their experience, and then also for ourselves, just to stay curious. It's awesome that you can provide that perspective and just demonstration of that through your therapy.
Yeah, I think, again, that's why I was called to this field, is just that's my personality. I'm very curious. I'm very empathic, and just, I really believe in loving all and treating everyone with respect.
Yeah.
As hard as that can be sometimes for a lot of us, right? It's always been just my way of being. And that's how God made me.
That's awesome.
And so it's really cool to be in a place where that is, here in New Life, that really is all of us.
Yeah.
Right? That's the culture here, is understanding the person, loving, accepting, and affirming the person.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned, psychoeducational piece and how that incorporates into your treatment. I'd be interested in you talking about that more, because we live in a day and age, you hear this often. I saw on TikTok or I saw on Instagram this list of ... and now I think I have ... So, explain the importance of the psychoeducational piece for treatment for individuals and clients and parents.
Yeah, so I look at it as, if somebody comes in, with that kind of curiosity, I saw this or I read this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage and praise the curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to learn about this? Great. But then I might subtly, if it's something that's not research-based or science-backed, then I might subtly be like, well, I'm not sure, about this route, but let me give you what I've got.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I'll utilize and pull some of those resources, whether it's various channels of people who have ADHD, and explain that experience, or professionals like Russell Barkley for ADHD, Tony Atwood with level 1 autism, helping people to understand the way that brain functions, the treatment options, how we do things, why we do things, right? And it takes those things on TikTok, right, and takes a deeper dive into, okay, that's a gateway into this discussion, right? Now let me give you stuff that we know works.
Yeah.
Right? And then let's individualize it to make it interesting for you. Right? And make it a richer experience for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, because I think what I've found for myself and then others I've talked with is, social media has a tendency just to be so black and white, all or nothing, it's this or that. And to be able to come in and say, okay, let's look at what you thought you might have and curiously explore this and understand how this fits you and your unique personality and the way that God's made you, and how you're going to demonstrate that through your life. It's a beautiful thing, because, so often it's just like, it's this or that, it's black or white. It's very limiting.
And it's very beneficial here. We also have Dr. Terry Young on staff during neuropsychological evaluations. And so that's something often I'll refer for when somebody's coming in wondering, do I have this, do I have that? As a master's trained clinician, diagnostics are an imperfect science. And what helps us to do that and do it accurately is data.
Yep.
And that data also, those reports help in terms of providing them to schools, colleges, to get accommodations. It helps to clear up confusion. It helps to make treatment plans more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm very supportive of his work here and that collaboration, because it sets me up for success.
Yeah.
And then it allows me to work with the individual, because the diagnosis is a roadmap. And it's not something where I'm going to look at the diagnosis out of the DSM and say, okay, here's the checklist of how I have to treat this client. No. I mean, I want to look at the symptomology, because one case of ADHD, people are going to struggle with more emotion regulation. Another case, they're going to struggle with more of the executive functioning, the planning, the organization. With autism, sometimes it's those social skills, and they're lacking that theory of mind and empathy. Access, they have empathy. That's a common misnomer about autism. That's a myth, that they don't have empathy. They have tremendous empathy.
Yes.
Being able to access it is the key.
Yeah.
So, you have people that maybe have a little more insight there, but again, their executive skills are more impaired. Or maybe they're doing okay in school and executive functions are good. But then we've got the struggles with the emotions and this reading the social cues or the reciprocity.
Yeah.
So that's why, anytime I have a diagnosis, even if it's through the neuropsych eval, it then becomes about, okay, what do I need to do for this patient? How am I treating the symptomology with the diagnosis as a guide of how their brain functions, how they learn, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so the diagnosis is a description that helps understand some of the parameters, but that doesn't lead you to knowing the person.
Right, but it can be a very powerful shame reduction tool.
It can be very helpful.
It's amazing what it does. Just
right.
Showing some of Russell Barkley's work, and that with ADHD, the division is between knowing and performing. And for people with ADHD to learn, like, oh, I'm not stupid, I'm not lazy.
Yes.
That they see, I know these things, but I can't perform them because there's an interruption in that ability. Right? And again, what we know about the neurology of these things is constantly developing.
For sure.
It is.
It's very complex. And even some of Barkley's work, things have evolved since then, and we've learned new things about the brain, which I love learning about that stuff too.
Yes.
And Dr. Young's got plenty of resources as well. It's very important to keep up on all that, but it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It is.
And helping then people to understand what some of the latest research shows. Yeah, it's great to see them say, like, oh, and okay, so this is why I do this, or this is why I struggle with this, and there's some things we can do to try and help, right? But it's not, it's different, right? It's a different approach, and that's where I have to work with the parents and the schools, trying to come up with certain accommodations too.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about working with the parents. These children come in as part of a family, and they're part of a classroom, or they're part of a group, or however they're receiving their education. How do you work with the parents when you're treating the child?
Good question. So I have a pretty consistent structure to how I build my intakes. And so in any situation where I'm working with a pediatric case, anybody under 18, the first thing I do is I bring that child or teen and their parents in all together. And the first initial part of the meeting is about, hey, here's who I am, right? I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself, tell you a little bit about my philosophy to treatment, how I do things. It gives them a chance to see all the different things in the office, which is great, especially for the kids, because they're like, well, there's lots of cool stuff in here. So it starts to break the ice a little bit, and it sets that expectation that, okay, we're working together here, and that expectation is for the child or teen and for the parents. That I'm saying the expectation that we're a team. And then usually what I do is I split it up and I meet with the parents for a little bit to get the background information, and things I don't have already on the intake, just to be able to start to have an idea what we might be looking at diagnostically, what treatment goals might look like so I can start to develop a treatment plan, get a feel for the parents and build some individual trust with them, and talk about things that they may not feel comfortable talking about in front of the child or teen. And then at the end of that session, for the last portion, I try to split up into like thirds. So for the final third, I bring that child or teen in just with me, and we just talk about getting to know each other. And so that focuses on like, okay, what kind of music are you into? What video games do you play? You know, what do you do for fun? You know, what are some of your favorite things to watch on YouTube? Or, you know, just getting to know each other so we can start to establish that rapport and that connection. And it's genuine. I mean, that's important for me to know the person, not just clinically, but to develop rapport and to have respect for that individual. And then that is my natural curiosity too.
Yes.
But that also, I like to ask about strengths and things like that, both with the parents and with the individual. And those are two things that I want to come out of every intake with is, you know, what are these clients' strengths and what are their interests, so that I can start things rolling up here and start the gears turning about how can I turn this into something creative and interesting that's going to be self-motivating for the client. And then over the course of therapy, typically what I'll do is I'll just do a quick check-in with the parent, either with or without the teen or child. We'll ask them, you okay with this, or you know, you want to be a part of it, or whatever. Just to see how things are going, any current issues I need to know about, and then I'll spend the good chunk of time with that individual. And then at the end, we'll spend, you know, somewhere around 10 minutes or so, give or take, depending on how much we have to go over, on, okay, here's what we learned. And again, what that client shares with me in sessions kept in confidence, it's more focused on, okay, here's what we're going to work on at home, right? Whether it's, you know, we're going to work on assertive communication. We're going to work on developing a morning routine or a homework routine. We're going to work on an accountability or a behavior management program. Like, here's what we're going to do for like a token economy or something like that, to be able to encourage. Really, you know, we're looking to make that child feel positive, right? So when I look at behavioral interventions at home, it's very focused on how can we what's the behavior that we need to work on here, right? Whether it's completion of homework, whether it's being able to cooperate with siblings, you know, whether it's being able to work on social skills outside of the home. It's very focused on incentive and putting that client in a place, that kid, that teenager in a place where, yeah, I want to do that, right? And I'm being praised and encouraged, and we're setting them up for success, right? I really emphasize that with the parents too, very positive focused.
Sometimes parents are fearful that there are things going on with their children that maybe the therapist is keeping secret from them, or the therapist is taking them in a different direction or something. I imagine you've encountered that more than once.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you do with those kind of fears?
Well, I think that being a parent myself has really helped with this, right? Because I see that in myself. When I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that. You know, or your own typical anxiety as a parent, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been very valuable, being, you know, with parents coming in knowing that I'm a parent. There is a layer of empathy there, and sometimes we'll get real about like how many laundry baskets you got laying around this week, right? Like, I do too. It's very disarming because we're in a very perfectionistic culture that has a high level of expectation for parents.
Yes.
And so as a therapist, I want them to know, like, yeah, I don't always have my stuff together either. That's okay. It's more important for me to spend time with my kids and to help my kids mature and grow. I'll get to that other thing, you know, when I can do that. And I make mistakes, right? I mean, that's important. We all do. We're all human.
Yep.
So as far as what goes on there, that's where the rapport is so important in developing that relationship, helping parents to feel heard too. So parents develop that trust for me. I can talk a good game. My mantra is, now I'm going to show a good game.
Okay.
I'm going to be able to show, not just tell you that you can trust me with your child or your teenager or your young adult, that I'm going to show you that by being collaborative, by helping to set these goals together. And that's good for the client too. And I think when the client does well and we see the growth, that really helps some of the parents' anxiety. And it's established up front. If there is a safety concern where I feel like that child or teen, or again, like I said, young adult, if I have a consent in place, if I feel there is a behavior where they're endangering their safety or somebody else's, that is going to be addressed. And it's typically collaborative, that I'll talk with the client like, hey, we need to bring this up. Like, this is where I'm drawing a line. How do you want to do that? Right? And so that's very important to me, that parents know that privacy of that client and what they share with me helps them to grow and helps their independence to grow, which is crucial as they grow up. But that they know if there is an issue that I'm concerned about safety or something that is potentially dangerous for the child or teen, yeah, I'm going to bring that up. We're going to address that together. Absolutely.
We hope you're enjoying this interview series with Bryan Peacock. There'll be a couple more episodes that we'll release in the coming weeks, so be sure to stay tuned for those as we continue to learn more about Bryan Peacock and his work with the clients that he loves working with. So take care, have a great week, and see you soon. Embracing New Life is a production of New Life Resources, a Christian counseling clinic in southeast Wisconsin, whose aim and goal since 1976 has been to provide high-quality professional counseling, psychological, and consulting services from within a Christian framework.